For the better part of a century, one thing has defined power, wealth, and conflict in the Middle East: oil. Simple as that. But what if that whole era is drawing to a close? I mean, the world is shifting right under our feet. Electric cars are everywhere. Clean energy isn't some far-off dream anymore. So what on earth happens to the region that's been powering our world for generations? Let's get into it. And this right here, is the monumental question, isn't it? What happens to this entire region when its most valuable commodity just isn't king anymore? Is it going to reshape global power, forge brand new alliances, or maybe even spark new conflicts? This is the central puzzle we're going to try and piece together. To really get a handle on where we're going, we first have to understand the old game. You know, how oil became the very foundation of power and money in the Middle East in the first place. First off, let's be super clear. Oil is so much more than just gas for your car. It is the literal lifeblood of our modern world. It's in the plastic of the phone in your hand. It's in the fertilizer that grows our food. It's in the asphalt on our roads. If you took it away, the entire global system wouldn't just slow down, it would grind to a dead halt. And this number is why the Middle East has been the absolute center of the energy universe. Just look at that. Around half of all the world's proven oil reserves are sitting right there. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, they're not just sitting on oil fields, they're sitting on a resource that has given them a massive amount of leverage over the entire global economy. And, they learned pretty quickly how to use that power. Back in 1960, the key players got together and formed OPEC, which is basically a club to control how much oil gets produced and, by extension, its price. But the real game changer, that was 1973. The oil crisis sent shockwaves across the globe, and it proved that oil wasn't just a commodity, it was a political weapon. From that moment on, the region became a critical chessboard for superpowers, and it's stayed that way for decades. But here's the thing. That old game, it's being fundamentally broken. Right now, there are two massive, tectonic shifts transforming our world and completely rewriting the rules of energy and power. So, the first game changer was the U.S. shale revolution. For decades, the reality was simple. America desperately needed Middle Eastern oil. But then new fracking technology just flipped the script, and suddenly the U.S. became one of the top producers itself. Now, this is a huge geopolitical shift. All of a sudden, America's allies in the Gulf had to start asking a really critical question. If the U.S. doesn't need our oil as much, will it still be here to protect us? And the second huge change is the global push toward clean energy. What's really fascinating here is this idea of peak oil demand. It's this theory, this point in time when the world's need for oil just stops growing and then begins a slow, permanent decline. We don't know exactly when that moment will hit, but the direction of travel is crystal clear. And for countries whose entire budgets depend on oil, well, that's a massive warning siren. So you can bet these nations aren't just sitting back and watching this happen. They're actively writing a new playbook, totally adapting their economic and political strategies to survive in a world that might not need their oil. Their survival plan is incredibly ambitious, and it really comes down to three huge bets. First, they have to build brand new economies and fast that aren't addicted to oil money. Second, they've got to forge new alliances, looking way beyond their traditional partners in the West. And third, they have to use their remaining oil wealth like a war chest to invest in the industries of the future. And you can see this happening right now in real time. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 is pouring billions into futuristic cities, into tourism, into big-time sports. The UAE has done an amazing job of positioning itself as a global hub for finance and trade. And then there's Qatar, using its incredible natural gas wealth to buy up everything from sports teams to huge stakes in global tech companies. But in the meantime, they are absolutely still playing the oil game. Through OPEC+, which is a wider group that now includes Russia, they carefully manage production. It's a really tricky balancing act. See, they want prices high enough to fund all these huge diversification plans, but not so high that they just make the world switch to green energy and electric cars even faster. So where is all of this heading? The stakes are just incredibly high. And while, no one has a crystal ball, we can pretty much map out three very different futures for the region. Three possible scenarios for what might come next. Okay, the most likely scenario is a slow, managed transition. The world moves to clean energy, yeah, but it happens gradually. In this future, Middle Eastern oil is still important because at the end of the day, it's the cheapest to produce. So even as global demand slowly drops, these countries still control a big piece of the market. The nations that manage to diversify successfully will do great. Those that don't could face some serious economic pain. A second and much more disruptive possibility is a rapid green shift. Just imagine if climate policies get way tougher, or EV adoption just explodes overnight. A fast drop in oil demand would be a massive economic shock to the region. Government budgets would collapse, and that could break the social contract where rulers provide jobs and subsidies to keep things stable. That could lead to some serious political unrest. And then there's a third, much darker scenario, a fragmented world of open conflict. Imagine a future where the rivalries between the US, China, and Russia just boil over. Energy stops being a commodity, it becomes a primary weapon in economic warfare. We could see things like blockades of vital shipping lanes or even direct attacks on energy infrastructure, which would send shockwaves through the global economy and threaten stability everywhere. Okay, so we've talked a lot about geopolitics, economics, far-off scenarios. But why should any of this power game actually matter to you in your day-to-day life? Well, it's pretty simple. It hits you right in the wallet. Whenever there's tension or conflict in the Middle East, global oil prices shoot up. That means you pay more at the pump, directly. But it also means it costs more to transport everything else. So your grocery bills go up, your plane tickets get more expensive. It all adds up. But the ripple effects go even further than that. When oil prices stay high for a long time, it acts like a brake on the entire global economy, which impacts jobs and growth. It also means our governments spend billions on military forces just to secure shipping lanes. And that's our taxpayer money that could be going to schools or healthcare. And of course, fundamentally, every single barrel of oil we use has a direct impact on our planet's climate. And this really gets to the core truth of it all. At the end of the day, this isn't just some abstract game played by world leaders. The consequences of these massive shifts in energy power are felt by ordinary people all over the world every single day. So that leaves us with the ultimate question for the 21st century. As the age of oil finally comes to an end, what's going to be the foundation of global power? Will it still be the nations that control the world's oil, or will it be the ones who master the technologies of the future? Batteries, renewable energy, and data? The answer to that question is going to define the world for all of us.